Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dealer to Healer podcast. It's me, Liam Brown. Hope you're all good. Send you all lots of love. Today we've got a Ayahuasquero, a Kambo practitioner, a kind of epic human who's been on a mental journey over the last sort of like 5 or 6 years. So yes, that's coming up on the show. What else has been going on? Well, this week I released another book, Hitchhiking, Feel the Good Vibrations, and that's been doing really well. You can get that on my website, liambrown.com, and you can go over to Amazon, leave it a review. It's doing really well. So's the Dealer to Healer book. It's still doing really well. And then this week, remember the guest Gina Swire I had on my show? She talks about a book by Jen Sincero. It's a book called You're a Badass at Making Money. I read it before I went to bed, and there was a little thing in it that said, you know, what are you kind of putting off and avoiding a little bit that you need to get on and do like straight away? You know, what extra effort do you need to make? I wanted to contact the Manchester Evening News to tell them about my book, tell them about my podcast, tell them about the stuff that I've been doing. So I'd wrote that down, like contact Manchester Evening News. So I woke up the next day and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I'm thinking, you know, because I've got all these doubts in my mind, like they're not going to want to do an article about me. It's going to be an absolute nightmare to find out who I have to speak to. Just all this kind of bullshit about, you know, why I shouldn't do it. You know, kind of it's going to be hard work. It's going to have to write loads of emails. I'm going to have to kind of sell myself a little bit, which I don't really like doing. But just it basically what the book is trying to do is get you out of your comfort zone. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to do it in the morning. So I got up, got my laptop out, and then just before that I put my phone on and I put Instagram on, and an amazing woman who interviewed me at my book launch last week had an article like in the Manchester Evening News, like she'd posted the picture of it, and I was like, oh man, it's a sign, like I've got to now crack on with getting in touch with the Manchester Evening News. So I just typed in Google, you know, how to contact Manchester Evening News, and it gave me an email address for the news desk and a phone number. I was like, oh right, sweet, I'll phone them, because I'd rather phone and speak to somebody than like send an email, wait for a reply. It was like at 8:30 a.m, got straight through and spoke to this woman, told her about my book, told her about my podcast, told her about like the synchronicities of what had happened, like with the book, and then with seeing Mama Knows Best post on Instagram. And she was like, oh, your story sounds amazing. We'd love to do an article about you. I'll get someone to be in touch with you. This person is the person who's in your area. She was like, are you from Manchester? I was like, are you hearing my voice? Yeah, of course I'm from Manchester. Listen to me, man. I can't get rid of this. I'm not putting this on. So yeah, she had a little chuckle to that, and she was just like, oh, I was like, why have I got hold of you? Why is this so easy? Like, I thought I'd have to get put through to 1,000 people. And she was just like, if you would have rang up 15 minutes later, the switchboard would have been going mental, so you wouldn't have got through to me, and I'm the person that you needed to speak to. And I was like, oh my God. She was like, yeah, sounds like it was meant to be. I was just like, wow, you know, just kind of getting the confidence, listening to those signs, and yeah, just kind of manifesting that into reality. So I'm doing an interview with the Manchester Evening News sometime soon, and I just kind of needed that rocket up my arse a little bit, and then Mama Knows Best post just kind of inspired me, and I was just like, right, you've got to do this, come on. And then it was actually easier than I thought. It was, you know, I was prepared to put the hard work in to get there, but you know, it was just like a blessing. Mama Knows Best. If you don't know anything about Mama Knows Best, go and check her Instagram out. Go and check what she's got going on. She's got a 3-part documentary. I met her through my amazing friend Mauro, and they've been doing a lot of work together. She used to be like a footballer's wife, and now she's like on this kind of spiritual movement, and she's an amazing woman, and she smells great. She interviewed me at my book launch. She smells amazing. Actually, at my book launch, she started interviewing me. Mauro was like, oh, can this girl interview you? And I was like, yeah, okay. Just thought I didn't know who she was or anything, you know. And then she started interviewing me, and she was so good that it kind of threw me, because I was like, wow, you're like a professional at this. And it kind of made me nervous for like the first kind of couple of questions. And then I was fine and back to myself, and, you know, cracking jokes and stuff and making her laugh. But yeah, she smelled amazing. She smelled awesome. I liked cuddling her, and beautiful, amazing woman inside and out. So thank you to you, Chinere. Lots of love. And yeah, the other thing that I was trying to manifest was, well, the other thing that I was putting off and thinking, I want to do this, but I'm scared, was going into Manchester city centre with my book and just talking to people and going, you know, it's free. It was the last day that the book was free on Amazon, on Kindle. and just like talking to people. But I felt like one of those charity workers, that you try and avoid a lot of the time when you're walking through town and you're like in a rush. And like people were, just shrugging me off. People were like scared of me. People were looking at me like I was shit. But then I was just meeting amazing, amazing people all day, like who were interested. And once we got talking, the conversations were just beautiful. And I put a load of little videos up on Facebook, and I just got this incredible vibe from people. And yeah, I know people have gone on and bought the book, and people have added me on Facebook. So it was just good to get out of my comfort zone and go and talk to people. And that's what we're trying to do in this podcast. And that's what that Jen Sicario book is trying to do. You're a Badass at Making Money. She's trying to inspire you to go, out of your comfort zone, go beyond like your limitations. Like, so we're trying to just get people to just like imagine big, imagine big and bigger. And that's what the podcast's all about. So yeah, I actually met two girls in a cafe, got chatting to them, was scared of talking to them at first. And then I thought, right, no, and then he was just about to leave. I was like, right, I need to talk to him. Come on, Brown. He was like, when you're like, I don't know, if you're a girl or a boy and you're kind of in a cafe and there's like someone that you fancy and you've had a bit of eye contact or something and you're like, oh, I need to talk to that person. And it's like getting up that courage. It was a similar thing because I was in a vegan cafe, but I didn't know what they were into. And then I started talking to them and they were like, oh my God, just before you got here, we were talking about ayahuasca and wanting to do it. So this book sounds amazing. Yeah, we'd love like to read it and we'll get it on Amazon. And I was like, wow. And then they were just like, yeah, we're both working marketing, so we can give you a few tips. I was like, oh my God, universe, God, thank you. Like, thank you for this day. But yeah, putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, putting yourself in those situations, whenever I hand stuff over to the universe, like, and I don't know what's going to happen, only beautiful things happen. Like when I'm hitchhiking, like when I'm traveling and I just go with the flow, I don't book anything. It always works out perfectly and I always meet someone magical, some magical situation. So yeah, let go of your kind of habits of programming of I do this and I do this. Even in your own city, you can go out and experience new things. And when we're in our hometown, we struggle with that quite a lot because we're just in this comfort zone of going and visiting family, seeing our normal friends. We don't put ourselves out there, and that's available to us every day, even in our own city. It's just about stepping into something new, trying something new, meeting new people, being vulnerable, being scared, but, enjoying that fear. So yes, thank you to Gina Swire for putting me onto that book. Thank you to Jen Sicario, or whatever your second name is. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry about that. It'll be in the show notes. Thank you to you and your amazing book. It's empowering me a lot. Let's get on with the podcast, eh? Like this podcast is next level. This guy is super intelligent. Like, he's been on an amazing journey, and it's a similar journey to mine in a lot, but he's kind of gone a lot more down the cosmic route. And people are like, oh, I don't like all this cosmic stuff. I don't like all this cosmic stuff. Sometimes when I'm teaching in my yoga classes and I'm like, right, so you're on a spaceship, which is a massive rock, flying through a universe, which is in like a super universe with many other universes, going through the universe at hundreds of thousands of miles an hour. And you're thinking what I'm talking about is cosmic. What you're experiencing on this spaceship is cosmic. You just can't see it. You're just stuck in this kind of little existence, like almost like a 2D reality. Like just to know that scientifically we are on a rock flying through the universe, that's cosmic enough. So everything else is, I don't know, how can everything else be as cosmic as that? That's just mental just to like sit there and think about that. Yeah, it kind of hurts your head a little bit. Maybe if we had the whole percentage of our brain active, we could fathom it and understand it. But like, we're living in a cosmic world, in a cosmic universe. Like, the universe is cosmic, so we're in that, so surely we're cosmic. It's provenly cosmic. That's my scientific kind of like proof of thatness, whatever that may be. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but yeah, shit's cosmic. I'll hand you over to my conversation with this amazing human being, and I was just kind of enthralled by the conversation from start to finish. So yeah, I'll hand it over. Here we go. Enjoy the show. Peace and love. You to bless my soul. Hello, welcome to the Dealer to Healer podcast. I'm your host, Liam Brown. Today I've got an exceptional guest for you all. Actually, probably the most excited I've been about having a guest on the show, just because it's the magic, you know, this like going into the spirit world. So our guest today, he is a healer, he's a Kambo practitioner, he's an Ayahuasquero. I probably said that word wrong. It's a difficult word to say. He's a healer. He runs Golden Era retreats. He's also now just stepped into becoming a Kambo practitioner. So he's teaching people how to become Kambo practitioners, which is a pretty awesome thing, man. Maybe some of you have not heard about Kambo. Kambo's this frog medicine. So he's a person who allows and facilitates a lot of healing. So he's doing a lot of good work. Like me, he's come from dealing drugs, being in trouble with the police, being a bit of a criminal. So it's actually, this is the first other dealer to healer we've had on the show, which is epic. So thank you so much for being here today. Lewis Powell, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you,
Yeah. Thank you for making it down.
Probably the best I've ever been, to be fair.
Yeah. Awesome. You look like you're sparkling, man. Your eyes look bright and yeah, you're there.
Yeah. I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I have done the past 4 years, to be fair.
Cool.
Yeah, things have been quite challenging, you know.
Yeah. You explain. You tell us what you do. What's your day-to-day job? You know, what sell yourself to us.
Do you know what? It's quite funny because I get asked this question quite a lot.
Yeah.
And when people ask me that question, I'm like, have you got a minute? You know.
We've got about 2 hours, mate. So crack on.
So this is the great opportunity for me to be able to explain it.
Yeah.
So basically, what I do is I am a Kambo practitioner. On a daily basis, so most of the work that I do for what most people are doing 9 to 5 is administering Kambo to people.
Okay, let's tell our listeners who've not got a fucking clue what Kambo is. What's Kambo?
So Kambo is a medicine that comes from a frog called the Philomedusa bicolor frog. This frog, it's from the Amazon. And it lives in the upper part of the Amazon, and it's also a tree frog. And it's been used for thousands of years by the tribes as a medicine, a purgative medicine, similar to how ayahuasca is. It's a purgative medicine that helps to purge, to release toxins. And what I mean by purgative medicine, it means that the chances are that you're going to purge one way or another, whether that be a physical vomit or defecation on the toilet. But it could also be a cathartic release, like a tears or an emotional release. So Kambo not only works on the physical body, it also works on the energetic and emotional bodies as well. So it purges us on a physical and metaphysical level as well. So it helps to clean our bodies and our spirit.
So how did you so go on then, tell us about your day-to-day. You've explained what Kambo is. It's this Amazonian medicine. It's similar to ayahuasca. It's purgative. It doesn't last as long as ayahuasca. It's not as like a grueling process in terms of hour-wise, is it?
No. I mean, Kambo treatment generally lasts between 20 to 45 minutes. Very rarely any longer than that.
How do you administer it?
So the way that Kambo is administered is via some small burns.
That's going to petrify people a little bit.
And when I say small burns, it is very, very small. It's literally just like a pinprick. And then what happens is then the medicine is applied to the layer of skin that's been removed. So the medicine can get into the system through the lymphatic system. And then that usually takes within a couple of minutes for it to start to work. So what people are going to expect to feel is changes in blood pressure. The heart rate can start to increase at first for the first couple of minutes, and then afterwards then there will be usually a purge one way or another.
Because Lewis is we're at my house today. We're sat outside my shed. Lewis has been to my house before, and he did a ceremony for me and a couple of friends, and I hadn't done it before. Obviously I'd done ayahuasca before and I'd heard about the frog medicine, and it was like something I wanted to try out. And the burns, actually, I quite liked the burns. It's kind of like a cool little tattoo you've got for a couple of weeks after, isn't it? And I was like, it looks pretty sick. And people are asking you questions, and it kind of raises awareness awareness and consciousness of this thing that most people are like, it's what? And you do what? Like, is that like some freaky kind of cult shit you're doing? And it's like, no, it's actually, I'm trying to purge emotions that are stuck in me or something that needs releasing. Like, that's what we're looking at. All of us who are on this spiritual journey, we're looking to cleanse as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is with Kambo, which I find great in comparison to other Amazonian medicines like ayahuasca, is how accessible it can be to the average person. So it does appeal to people that are just living normal lives. I say normal lives, people that aren't necessarily so much on the spiritual path. It can be really beneficial for these people because it fits into the 9 to 5 sort of regime.
Similar to DMT as in it, really, because you don't have to.
It's a businessman's purge.
Well, you don't have to take a week off. You don't have to take a day off. You can just do it. When a DMT for me, I was like telling my friends, I was like, you're like, oh, I can't do it on a school night. I'm like, no, you could do this. You don't have to do this on your lunch. You could do it on your break. You could do DMT on your break, and I can guarantee you can go back to your desk and be completely compos mentis after 15 minutes after a DMT trip. It's like you go to the most out there place, isn't it? And then you come back and you're like, why am I normal? It's just gone. And but DMT is it's untraceable, isn't it? After like the 20 minutes, you cannot. It's not found in your body. The drug, you can't be tested for it or anything.
Well, I think that's the thing with DMT is that it's in our body anyway in trace amounts. So it's just like literally just pitching the
just releasing it.
The volume up of it.
I guess with ecstasy and serotonin, it's just kind of giving you this release of. But ecstasy stays in your system a lot longer. And ecstasy is illegal, kids. It's
illegal.
We're not just talking about legal things, but that's a great
ecstasy might have been something that I might have went to in my older life.
But don't you feel, with me personally, with all the drugs experiences that I had, at some point when I first tried or tested that drug, there was an awakening of sorts. Like, ecstasy really opened up my heart. Cannabis opened up like creative avenues and different ways of thinking, and kind of like obscure different weird perceptions of things. So I think they're all can be classed as a medicine in a way. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I'm definitely with ecstasy. When it's in a pure form, it can be really beneficial and helpful, therapeutic as well. I know that it's been used, for therapies as well.
And MDMA,
PTSD therapy. MDMA. So there's research into it, and what I'm hoping in the future is that Kambo will be researched for use, in therapy with alongside therapy for PTSD.
So why is Kambo legal? Like, how come?
Well, Kambo's technically just not being made illegal. Yet. No, well, I think that the thing is with Kambo, it's just not on the radar for anything that to be prohibited.
And do you think if the powers that be kind of got a hold of it, they'd kind of ban it, or what?
I think that what would be the catalyst for any kind of prohibition around Kambo would be if there was any deaths or any issues that could cause them to be alarmed or have any red flags. But that hasn't happened in the UK.
It kind of happens with alcohol. Every day?
There's
no red flags with alcohol, though. That's fine. It's a government's brew.
Well, that's completely fine. Alcohol.
I think it's that. Like, for me, it's kind of it's been proven, isn't it, that what was his Professor Nutt did a study in, like, was it 2010 or something, where he reclassified all the drugs, and like ecstasy was kind of legalized, and alcohol was dropped to a was it class A, and cigarettes, because it took in all your social connotations, all your social problems that are associated with those drugs, health problems, and tobacco and alcohol were higher than everything else. Mushrooms was like the lowest.
And mushrooms is like class A, which is ridiculous. Like, they just grow on the field. They used to grow on my school field. I used to pick them. I used to pick them when I was in school.
I'd take them. Brilliant. And then someone could come along and go, sorry, that's class A offence. It's like, all of a sudden it's like, wow.
But it was actually mushrooms that started like my interest in psychedelic medicines. Like, even from a young age, people used to take it just to get high, and I was very much drawn to taking them, and I wasn't sure why.
Yeah. And not just to get high, just to.
Well, and it used to help me.
Yeah.
Like, and that was from of me being a schoolboy.
Yeah.
It used to help me. It used to help me to. I found that what mushrooms did for me when I was younger was that they helped me to let go of the rest, the what had been going on, like in that year, because I used to take them around this time of year, around autumn. I used to always find that it used to just like reset me.
Yeah. Why do you think you were aware of that? Obviously now you probably know because you were on this path, but
yeah, well, I believe that I've done this work before.
Yeah.
Like the first time that I had mushrooms, actually, I felt like I've done this before.
Yeah.
Which is strange. So familiar. So it's like I feel that I've been doing it before in previous lifetimes.
Yeah.
I feel that it's something that I'm repeating.
Yeah, and I think for someone to be people to be so drawn to a certain thing, there has to be some sort of past life kind of. Even the fact you've not even been doing it for that long. What is it? 6 years?
Yeah.
7 years.
Well,
you've been
as a Kambo practitioner. I've been doing that for almost 5 years. So it's
5 years.
It's not that long.
It's not that long.
No,
but like some people, they get to something and it's like it just comes really easy to them.
Yeah.
You knew. Well, tell us about what happened. When you went to when did you know you were going to go down this route and this was going to become your life?
Okay. So as I was growing up, I was quite involved in a lot of like where I was growing up. There was a lot of like crime and that was just kind of like the normal thing that I was brought up around, you see.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of drug taking. I was very interested in like drugs, substances and their effects, and I found that I got I used to take ecstasy pills and go to raves and like I wasn't living a very healthy lifestyle, to be fair. It was quite party there was like a lot of alcohol and drug taking, and then I found myself being involved with like cocaine and also like dealing as well, which was like it was a way to make money. It was like easy. It was just so easy.
It's hard and fast.
It was just easy. It was like
this sit at home and people knock on the door.
Yeah, I was like and I was living the high life for a little bit. And I thought I was great.
Yeah.
And I was doing a lot of drugs, and it was a lot of there's a lot of money coming in as well, and then it got to the point where I was like still partying hard, and then like these contacts that I had from where I was dealing to, like I had some like out of town contacts, and then they sort of decided that they were going to get their stuff from someone else.
Yeah.
And then after that I ended up owing out loads of money.
Right.
So I got myself into quite a lot of debt. Right. Because I was sort of living.
But in the criminal world, not in.
Yeah, in the criminal world. So I owed people money that I was at risk.
Yeah.
For something bad happening to me. Yeah. So, and then I had to resort to dealing worse drugs.
Right. Okay.
So then I was involved in like the crack cocaine and heroin world, which was very murky.
Yeah.
And getting involved with all that myself, it was like the type of people that I was dealing with, and then there was a lot more crime involved, and then I was getting involved
a lot more sketchy,
and then I was getting involved with like robberies and things like that. It was just that was the world I was immersed in. I had the police. The police knew who I was. They were like following me around. Right. I even used to leave my door on my flat open because I was in a rented flat, just because I didn't want them to kick it down.
Yeah.
So at least to leave it open because I never used to keep anything in my house, So this was like kind of where I was at that time, and I was like, living.
What age was that like?
At that age, I was. I must have been around 21 to 24, around 21 to 24 years old, around that time. And then, the police, they were like on my case a lot, and there was a few very close calls that I had with the police. I was getting chased by the police quite often, and then like just narrowly escaping, going to prison a few times, and so it was actually a few narrow escapes from going to prison that actually, and getting banned from driving, that that led me to real, you know, it was a few wake up calls,
right?
Like it was like, you know,
so it's like a couple and then something just smashed you in the back of the head kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the police kind of like had me on a setup. It was like the Matrix squad. They were like were like around Liverpool and the Wirral area there, you know, they were kind of like drugs sort of specialists, you know, and so they were like on the case, and then they you know, there was a time when I got like not rammed off the road by the police, and I literally got onto them doing it all before, and I managed to hide all my drugs, right? And then when I got back in the car, they thought that they had me, but they didn't, you know. So I was kind of like sat in the back of the police car, just like,
thank God.
Like, oh yeah, kind of laughing in a way, because I knew that they didn't have anything on me, but it was at that point where I was like,
if they had have got you, you would have been screwed.
Yeah. And then I was in court as well. I was going through dangerous driving charges for getting chased off the police, and then when so your life was basically out of control at this point. Completely out of control. Completely. You know, I was taking drugs, I was selling drugs, I was you know, involved in all kinds of shady stuff. But you know,
let me just what I like to share with people is where, like, people like, well, I guess we probably got a similar background. It's not like we're born in a middle class area where everything's sweet and we decide to go into this thing. That's around us when we're growing up. We've not made people go, oh, you're bad people. It's like, no, we were around this shit so much growing up that it was normal. It was normal. It was completely, and we're all a product of our surroundings. We're all a product of our circumstances. So, you know, this doesn't make us bad people. What it makes us is actually amazing humans, because we've come out of it and so chose a different path, you know what I mean? But you have to go, something has to like wake you up. Definitely. Well, I had a few of them, and it was I think the thing that changed it the most was when I was looking at going to prison, and then I got away with a suspended sentence for 2 years, and I got banned from driving, and I thought I was going to prison, so I was kind of like, that was like okay, I'm not going to prison now. I can't carry on doing what I'm doing. I literally couldn't, because there was, you know, they knew what I was doing, the police. There was no way that I could have carried on. So it was like, all right, now you've got to sort something out. And you know, it's like so similar to my story, man. When you read my book, you're gonna be like, oh right, shit, like, because it was the prison thing. It's like, fuck. But when I was nearly going to prison, it was like part of me wanted to go to prison to get away from everything, because everything had become a bit too much. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh, I need to escape this. How do I get out of this life that I feel is just not serving me?
Yeah, I totally relate to that. That's exactly the same that I was feeling at the time. I was like, this. I was kind of like not really bothered. If I went to prison, I thought, oh well, it is what it is, and then when I get out, maybe I can sort myself out. But it wasn't. That didn't happen. And then, and then I came across DMT.
Right. And how long after that?
Not long.
So it was just like synchronicity.
Yeah. It wasn't long. It was 2010.
Okay.
And it was probably like, just after all that was going on. Just after all that was going on.
Well, should we get into DMT a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
So how was your first DMT experience?
Probably one of the best experiences of my life. The way that I was greeted by like these beings was just beautiful. It was I remember as soon as I breathed it out, I was just like, these beings just came. Four of them. There's these 4 huge like golden beings, and they were telling me to believe in myself. And they were like going and they putting all this love into my heart, and that's all they just kept saying: believe in yourself, believe in yourself. And since that moment, I was just like, for months afterwards, I was just so like blown away. And it was like they were saying to me, we've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you, you know. We found you now. So I felt like I was being reconnected with my guides, my spirit guides.
I had a very, very similar. It was like 3 kind of avatar women sat on this porch, similar to what we're sat on now, but one of them is in a hammock, and just like where have you been? Like, we've been waiting for you. Like, what's taking you so long?
Yeah.
Like, oh, then they say, oh, it doesn't matter. Time doesn't really exist. Come on. And then just like going through these like technicolor geometric patterns and just like then fizzling into like timesing it by 1,000,000 in terms of like how better it was, and then you're going, oh, that's the best thing I've ever seen, and then boom, again, like they can double it into, you're just like, whoa, it's just
it's mind-blowing, isn't it?
So beautiful though. So beautiful and love-filled at the same time. But what did you like, because for me, like I did DMT after my ayahuasca, after I'd been to Peru. I'd heard about DMT and I was just like, oh, I'm not sure. It sounds a bit like, because I knew a couple of guys who'd had really bad trips. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm not really too sure. And then when I went and did ayahuasca, and then was like, oh, it's supposed to be of a similar energy. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'll test it out. So I got some, and me and my friend did it, and I was just like, wow, it is the same. It's taking you to the same place. For me, DMT is like a trailer to ayahuasca, innit? It's like the ayahuasca's the feature film and DMT's the trailer. Yeah, I find with DMT it's very alien like, and sometimes you can end up in places where you're like, just what the fuck. There's been a few times where I've had DMT and I'm like in an alien spaceship with like beings from other dimensions and other worlds, and they're like, they've got like tentacles for the face, and like they're looking at me as if to say, who the fuck are you? What's wrong with your face?
Like, what are you doing here, kind of thing. I've had lots of
in.
And sometimes I've had it when I'm just like, there's absolutely no sense coming out of this. What was the point? So, and whereas with ayahuasca's like connected very much to the earth, because that is like the vine is like the spirit of the mother, and are directly connected to our Mother Earth. So it kind of like, the beauty about ayahuasca is it kind of has that connection to the higher realms, but also that rooted and groundedness to the earth. So a lot of what you experience in ayahuasca is to do with earthly matters, things that are more to do with your personal life rather than like just alien craziness. And the thing is, I'm not taking anything away from DMT. I don't use it anymore, but at that time it was an absolute catalyst for my journey, DMT, and it was absolute, I didn't stop going on about it for months afterwards. And then and it was at that time that I'd got myself a job. And then I'd managed to sort myself out. So it was like it was literally like a massive life-changing moment for me, because I got myself a job. It wasn't the best of jobs, but it was a job in a factory, but it was earning me good enough money. I'd managed to sort out my debts. So then it was that I moved away from
just
from
like
all that,
giving you a little bit of stability and a bit of grounding and foundation to just kind of keep growing from.
That's it.
Awesome. That's good. So what did you know about DMT before you first took it? Did you just go into it like kind of thinking it was a party drug, or like just an experience?
No. I knew that there was something more to it. I mean, the way that there's a little bit of a story about how I managed to find DMT, because it wasn't very well talked about in 2010. It was quite it wasn't as popular as what it is today. Around that time, I was still doing I was still raving at that point. I was still going out, because like there was people in my age who were still partying, and I was still young, and so I'd moved away from the kind of murkier world, but I was still involved in like weekend sessions and drinking and alcohol and drugs, but just I was
more
recreationally, and I went to Blackpool and we'd had acid, and then I went back to this hotel room and we were all doing ketamine, which is quite a powerful psychedelic drug as well, and the combination
that became my favourite drug towards the end of my drug taking.
Ketamine,
because it's just like you're on a cloud, like you're just walking in clouds.
It actually taken me to like realms similar to DMT.
That's what a couple of my friends who said, who got big into the ketamine, said that it was DMT's the closest thing to each other. And I was like, I remember seeing this entity, and it was sat on top of the hotel, and I was like just in this, like they call it like a cat hole, like where you're just like completely out of it. And I was just fascinated that there was like a being, like entity. And then I went onto Google and I was like, what's this? What entities, on psychedelics,
And then obviously when you put entities on psychedelics into Google, the first thing that comes up is DMT. And I'd never heard of it before. So then that's what started my curiosity into, and I was just like trying to find it for ages. I remember that I was, asking around. Nobody had heard of it. And then I actually extracted it myself.
It's quite easy to make, isn't it?
Yeah. But so when I went into it, I didn't go into it as I was doing it purely out of curiosity.
Yeah. And then that was the spiral that started for you now to becoming a Kambo practitioner.
Yeah, that's kind of like the beginning of it, really. So it wasn't for another few years after that I started getting into Kambo. But it was obviously it was because of DMT and my interest in that. And interested in the effects that it had on me and how much it helped me, that I was curious about its origins. So then that's where I started researching where it came from. And that's how I stumbled across ayahuasca.
Because DMT is basically, if the listeners don't know, it's basically synthetic ayahuasca, isn't it? It's made in a laboratory.
It's kind of it's still a natural substance because it's extracted. It's not exactly synthesized in like LSD synthesized.
Right,
it's actually extracted.
Okay.
So it's still a natural substance.
Right.
But the original uses of DMT would have been with ayahuasca, which is a brew, which is a combination of two different plants, one DMT containing plant and another one that contains a MAOI inhibitor, which enables the DMT to work. So I was very interested in that. And its traditional uses and its use as a medicine, because I knew the benefits of the DMT that it had on me, and it was medicinal for me. So I was really interested in that, and there is other things that contain DMT that are used as well in the Amazon, like Yopo, and also there's a DMT called 5-MeO DMT that comes from a toad as well.
I've heard about that one.
It's called Bufo toad.
Yes, Bufo. Because people are doing Bufo ceremonies and stuff now.
People are doing Bufo ceremonies as well,
Is Bufo legal?
No, Bufo's illegal.
Bufo's illegal.
Yeah, I think any kind of DMT containing substance in the UK is
a no-no.
It's a no-no. It's illegal. So I was, very interested in ayahuasca. So that was kind of like my next thing on the bucket list.
The DMT was kind of like the stepping stone. Because I've always said to people who are doing ayahuasca, I'm like, you should probably do DMT first. Like I would choose to do it that way now, because it's more of like a little gateway into the ayahuasca world, because doing ayahuasca is a big thing, man. It's a grueling experience, isn't it? It's not like you're going to go and do it. It's like, I'm going to do ayahuasca. I've got to go and try ayahuasca, and like dancing through fields of like barley and stuff, skipping and shit. It's like, this is gonna knock your socks off, man.
Well, it can be like that. It can be.
It can be beautiful.
It can be absolutely beautiful.
But if you go for a week, you are gonna go through. If you do 3 ceremonies, you're gonna go through some shit at some point. I would pretty much imagine.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're going out into the jungle to do it. So like my first experience with ayahuasca was in 2013 or 2014. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I ended up doing it in Milan.
Oh, right.
Because I'd found somewhere online that was doing retreats. It wasn't held in a way that I'd expected it to be. It's quite interesting. At first when I went there, I thought, this is weird. This is like a cult or something. What are these crazy people doing? Dancing and like
being nice to each other.
Being nice to because I was still a little bit of a scally at that time. I still hadn't fully made me transition into into a healer.
But I think it's good going into it like that, like skeptical. You're going into everything skeptical, aren't you? And you're ripping in your head. You're ripping the piss out of everything, and you're imagining what your mates would think about
it's exactly what was going through my head. But you know what? The most beautiful thing about it was I was thinking like that when I first got to this retreat. I was like, you know what? Crazy. There's people doing like ecstatic dancing, and I was just like, nah, not for me. But you know what? It was like a couple of days into the retreat. you know, I started to feel really good.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, you know,
something in this.
There's something in this, you know, these people dancing. And like, I was thinking, I could feel my body like moving, and I was like, you know, I feel like I want to get up and dance.
Yeah.
And then, do you know what came to me? Just what you said before. Imagine in my mind, I was like, imagine what so and so would think if they seen you dancing like this.
Yeah.
Imagine if your mates seen you doing that, they'd all laugh at you.
Yeah.
And then it was at that point that I was able to disconnect from that voice in my head and go, hang on a minute, you've been saying stuff like this my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, to me, you know, like I've been telling myself that I can't do things because I've been worried about what other people think. And at that moment, I had a big purge.
Yeah.
I was like I let go of that, and I just got up and I was just dancing.
Yes,
I didn't care. I didn't care. And do you know what? It was probably one of the most liberating things I've ever done. Yeah. Honestly, it was amazing.
Because that from growing up, where you basically don't dance unless you're drunk or on drugs, do you?
Yeah.
Like when maybe at school when you was a little kid, but once you get to that kind of awareness of your body, 13, 14, you kind of got to be pissed or on drugs to have a dance. And I remember the first time I did it without drinking drugs was in I think it was in America, and I went to a 5 Rhythms, and it was just going into that room and seeing people, you're like, wow, this is weird, man, this is like totally mental. And you just have to change your perception. You're like, I just was like, right, I'm in a Fatboy Slim video, that mental one, like I just gotta just let everything go, kind of, and I just closed my eyes for probably the first hour and just danced and let my body go, and then eventually I opened my eyes and then kind of got past that. But it's just going past it in little stages, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you have to break yourself into it. But yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I had my eyes closed at first, and I was just dancing like that.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like that, the first ayahuasca experience that I had was profound.
Yeah. And that was in the one in Milan.
That was in Milan, and it was. I just knew then. Like it was telling me, this is what you're going to be doing. Right. It was showing me the way that it started off, that experience was, it showed me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the first time I've ever seen like an image of myself, and I was just watching myself, and like it was showing me. I was like in this spaceship driving. I was flying a spaceship. And on this spaceship there was like these cages, and in the cages there was like demons, like, and it was showing me putting all my demons in cages. Okay. And I didn't get what that meant at the time. I was thinking, this is interesting, you know, just to watch and observe that. Yeah. But it was also showing me like images of me holding ayahuasca ceremonies. Right. And you know, working as a healer.
And that like resonate rather than just go, that's outlandish, or was it like, yeah, man?
I was like thinking, yeah, I could feel it in my bones. I could feel it in my whole being. I was like, wow, you know, this is actually something that's
right.
That feels right, because I was very interested in that kind of thing. It's just something that just felt right. Yeah. I was completely blown away by it, and the way that I could just ask questions. Like, I was like, wow, I've got all this, you know, this is my life, this is what's going to be happening with me. And then I was like, well, what else? You know, what else can I know? And then like the medicine sort of replied back to me, what do you want to know? And I was like, okay, tell me about aliens. It was just like a random thing that I'd asked. And next thing, it started showing me about all these different alien worlds, and I was like, well, actually, I said, I don't want to know that. And then it went, when it all closed down, it said, okay. I said, do I need to know anything? And it said, no. Right. And I was like, okay.
Amazing.
So it was quite profound, actually, that experience. But that's what led me then onto this path. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing.
So what does Lewis Powell do now? What do you do?
On a daily basis?
Well, daily basis. And what stuff have you got going on? What's your kind of main focus and stuff?
So the main thing that I'm focusing on at the moment is doing my retreats.
Yeah.
So I do healing retreats. I also do work with ayahuasca ceremonies in countries where it's legal.
Yeah.
And I also do healing retreats in this country with Kambo and other legal medicines and healing modalities as well. Yeah. I also work with Kambo on a daily basis.
Right.
With clients on a one-on-one basis. So I also do groups. Yeah. And I also do like open Kambo circles, as we call them, where anybody can come along, you know, and then we sometimes there can be up to like 20 people in a room together, all being sick. So I do Kambo circles usually like once a month, and the private Kambo treatments on a daily basis. I also do other healing as well. I work with shamanic healing techniques like soul retrieval and breaking of curses and entity release and things like that. What I'm focused on now mainly is my retreats that I do, and also I am now teaching Kambo practitioners, people that would like to become a Kambo practitioner. Okay. I've recently just started an association called the Kambo Practitioner Alliance, and what that is a platform where Kambo practitioners can share information. Also,
is this just people trained by you, or is this can people just join the association who are?
People can join the association if I know that they've been trained, you know, by some reputable. There is other associations that are reputable. But I used to work for another association, which I'm very grateful for. You know, I did a lot of my training with them, and but a few differences came up, and then you know, I decided to leave. And now I'm starting my own association, which is going to be completely non-for-profit. It's not. It's just going to be a community. It's just a community where people can share information about their client, you know, well, not about their clients, but about what, you know, their experiences.
Got a plane going over.
So people can share about the new practitioners can share about
we're just giving each other support and stuff, like
support. And if they want to know anything, then we can you know, we can leave that information on there on this online forum. Also,
so how can people if I wanted to be a Kambo practitioner, how do I get hold of you? Is there a website? How do I get in touch with you?
The website is currently under development for the Kambo Practitioner Alliance, but you can always get in touch with me via Facebook or email. Kambo_clarity@hotmail.com.
Well, I'll put that in the notes at the end of the show. So if anyone is got just this has sparked an interest, or like you've had a moment where you're like, wow, that's what I want to do, get in touch with Lewis. He's an amazing guy, amazing practitioner, really professional. So just get in touch with him on the email address that's in the show notes. That'd be awesome. How long does the training last? Is it like 9 years?
No, it's a 3-month course. And we do 2 full weekends. Where it's mainly the theory around Kambo and the safety, and then there is practical weekends where we do have people from the public come, and the new practitioners can practice with each other.
Do you just go outside and like just grab them and pull them in? Come here.
It's just volunteers really, but it's people that you know, it's advertised that people can come along if they want to receive a free treatment, and then they can come and have a treatment from a trainee practitioner.
Like you'd get an haircut kind of thing. Hairdresser.
So the course isn't just like theory and practicing Kambo. It's also personal development as well. Because what I would need from each practitioner is that they have a certain level of self-awareness, because when holding space for somebody, you have to be completely aware of your own energies. So it's not for everyone, and some people just aren't quite at that level yet. So the personal development is helping people to be able to see they basically just have a mirror held up to them so they can see their flaws, where they're at, and Kambo, and they will be receiving quite a lot of Kambo themselves during the course as well.
Yeah, so this is not really for someone who's gone, I'm spiritual, I'll be a Kambo practitioner. It's you need to have been on your journey for a little while.
Yeah, because it's quite an intense.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of self work, and then you're also learning about the practice as well. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's training. It's not like it's not just like a college course. It's training.
Yeah.
Because to be able to be a Kambo practitioner, to be able to hold that, takes something to do that.
Yeah, and you've got to be able to hold the space and communicate with a group of people. It's not just like doctor's surgery, just one person's coming in. You've got to be kind of like compassionate and aware and
exactly. Yeah, there's all of that, and then there's boundaries as well. There's knowing what you can and what you can't say to people, and how dangerous it can be to project your beliefs onto people, and there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn to be able to hold that medicine.
That's amazing. Like it's great work that you're doing, man. I'm so happy that you've kind of started that and kind of keeping this thing going, and the kind of domino effect, and even just like the branching off from the organization that you were with originally. That's life. Look at yoga, look at all these modalities of all different teachings. They eventually branch off and they create different offshoots that are just a little bit different, but it's all coming from the same source. What I mean? It's all coming from a space of wanting to help people develop and help people to heal.
Exactly. Kambo for me is what I've witnessed Kambo do over the 5 years that I've been working with it is it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
I've seen miracles.
Yeah. So what sort of things, because you're telling me about things that it healed, what sort of thing can it heal? What's the main things?
Well, I would never like to claim that Kambo could heal anything, because I know how dangerous it can be to make claims about things legally, but what I have witnessed and the testimonials that I've had from clients range from people having clinical depression being lifted in one treatment, PTSD sufferers receive dramatically reducing their PTSD symptoms. I even had a client who had terminal cancer.
Yeah,
she had tumors in her neck, in her groin, and she worked with Kambo over like a period of about 18 months, and it just slowly started to reduce. Whether that was to do with the Kambo or not, but from what my client believes that it was, and that's good enough for me to be able to hear that, to see that her health improving and her life improving. Now she's had 2 perfectly healthy children and the cancer's still in remission.
Amazing. And she gives mainly the thanks to Kambo.
She gives the thanks to Kambo. It's
incredible.
We don't know if that's there hasn't been like tests or studies to say that that's what it was. But there is actually some research from there's a university, I believe it's a university in Paris, that have done research on some of the peptides that are in Kambo, and there is a peptide that's in Kambo, and I'm not going to say exactly what peptide that is because I'm not 100% sure, but it's been proven that it can kill cancer cells in a petri dish in a lab.
Right.
So that doesn't by any means say that Kambo can cure cancer in humans, but it definitely shows that there's something there.
Incredible.
So
and that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, if science proves that it cures stuff, it's still fucking been curing stuff for 20 years before that they proved it. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Indians talking about God and they go, oh, your science is proving this in quantum physics or whatever. It's like, well, we know that. We don't care if it's proven or not. We know it. We believe in it. Yeah. It's kind of like, if the person believes that Kambo did it, great. That's what did it for them, you know what I mean? Do you know?
Exactly. So
but it just, I guess what in this world that we're living in, it just makes that shit more credible, doesn't it? But that's not what we necessarily need.
No, it's not what we need. And I think the way that Kambo works as well is that it attracts in the people that need it. And it doesn't need to be sold. Kambo kind of like sells itself, you know, to the people that need to do it. Like I could probably 90% of the people that come to see me for Kambo have done it because they've felt a calling to do it.
Yeah.
Like similar to how I said, you know, I had a calling to do ayahuasca, or, you know, it's like there was just something inside of them that led them to do it.
Yeah.
And they still can't, you know, they can't put their finger on what that is, which is great, you know. And when people say that to me, it makes me really, you know, I'm really pleased, because people are listening to their higher guidance. You know, even though they might not be fully aware of what that is, they're starting to trust it, because whatever it was that's led them to come to that Kambo is something that wants to, you know, guide them.
And our conditioned mind is battling with that.
It, yeah, totally.
Just like, what are you doing? Yeah, this is nuts. This is bullshit. Yeah.
So, and also when I'm giving people a Kambo treatment is, you know, it would be very easy for me to say, oh yeah, it'd be good for you to have 3 or 4 Kambo treatments, you know, to like get like money, you know, because that could happen. It's the thing is, as being a Kambo practitioner, you are in a position where you could easily manipulate somebody into, you know, because people come in and they've got problems and they're very suggestible. So what I like to do is
like that with any therapy, really. Isn't
it is.
Even just like coming to see a therapist.
It is. But one thing that I never encourage the other practitioners that I've been training to do is to tell people how many treatments that they should have. Like, and always encouraging people to go back to that knowing inside. It's like, okay, I know that I need to do another treatment. So I'd always say, come back when you feel the call again. Well,
and that's where I'm at with my plant medicine thing. At the minute, it's quite interesting, because I was like, a few things that I did, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like, it didn't feel 100% right. It felt like I was forcing myself a bit. And then I had a reading off a woman about 2 months ago, and she was like, oh, just the medicines and that, for now, that's not for you. And I knew that in my heart. But there was another part of my ego was going, no, you want to go and do some more like healing and this thing. And I'm like, oh, it's cool to have a break. I think for me, if you're doing ayahuasca every week, how are you processing it? If, you know, for a year, if you're doing ayahuasca every week, where's the time for you to like go, well, what do I need to change, and how do I put that into place?
Exactly. I think that can be a trap, and I've seen it before. You know, in there's some communities where there's people taking ayahuasca a lot. You know, I take ayahuasca a lot because I'm facilitating that. But that's, you know, it's kind of like my job, so
exactly.
I don't really have that much. I don't really have that choice, but I do see it how people will go to the same ceremonies, you know, time and time again, and kind of like get stuck in this feeling that they need to go to the ceremony to get the help that they need, rather than going to the ceremony, taking on board the lessons, and then going back into life and integrating that. I think you need to have balance. I think balance is something that I feel that I'm at a place now where I feel balanced, more grounded, because when I first started on my ayahuasca journey, when I went to Peru, after that I was completely ungrounded for a few years. Right.
We've just had, if you're watching on YouTube, we've just had a little brew, and we've put some more clothes on because it got quite cold out here. You know, you get carried away when you live in Manchester. You get a little bit carried away. The sun comes out. I was like, let's do it outside in my garden in front of my shed. It'll be great. Be nice and warm. It's bloody freezing.
Seems like a good idea at the time.
It's got to be a better shot than in the house though, man. So let's get back at it. So going onto this, more into the ayahuasca, when you went to Peru, kind of talk us a bit through a bit more of that, really.
So, you know, like I'd said before, my first experience with ayahuasca was in Milan, and it was then that I knew that I was going to work with the medicine. It was kind of like made pretty clear to me. I didn't know how that was going to come about, because I was still working at that point. I was working in a factory. I had this job, and I was thinking, how am I going to get out of this shift work job to become, you know, an ayahuasquero or something
in Ellesmere Port.
Ellesmere Port, exactly. You know, it was a big, you know, the vision that I had was like worlds away from where I was at. But I knew I needed to go to Peru. I knew I needed to go to the jungle, so I did a little bit of research and tried to find somewhere to go. I ended up going to the jungle on my own.
Yeah.
And I'd managed to find a centre that was owned by somebody that I'd been recommended. And the experience that I had when I was there was probably one of the most traumatic experiences that I've ever had in my life, because in fact I'm only just now able to speak about it, because it was that terrifying. And at the time I was very naive. I was very I presumed that going to the jungle to meet these, like, I really wanted to meet, these shamans that were gonna, like, because the medicine, because the ayahuasca showed me this is what I'm gonna do. I thought, I'm gonna go to the jungle and I'm gonna meet someone who's going to teach me everything that they know. And then that'll be it.
The apprentice.
That was kind of like my naive approach to it. And and there's ego as well, kind of like, I've got this. I've done all this throughout my life. I can go to the jungle and I can do this, no problem. But when I got there, it was a bit of a shock. To be fair, it was because I wanted to learn. And that was my intention, was to learn about the medicine and how to work with it.
And was that jarring for the shamans, like, because obviously people just usually want to go there for the experience, for the healing. And you go in there, was that a bit of a kind of, was there sort of rubbing up against something? Was the resistance? There was resistance there. The shamans that I was working with, they were one of them was 98 years old. Wow.
And that was the man, Antonio, and he was a maestro. And then there was this other Shipibo. They're both from the Shipibo tradition. And the other one was called Alejandrina. She was like roughly around 80 years old. But I presumed that anybody that was working with the medicine would be good people. And it turns out that they actually they weren't good people, which was a big shock to me, because at the time I still wanted to believe that these people were good. And it took me a while. In fact, it's probably took me a while after I came back that I realized that they were not good people.
Okay. And why did you, how have you made that decision about them? Like, what went on?
Okay, so when I was there, I was I asked that I wanted to learn. I wanted to be able to learn from the medicine. They were very distant with me. They were very distant, but also very mysterious. Like, they had like this eerie edge to them, and I just thought at the time when I first got there, I thought, oh, this is just how these people are. But even though my intuition underneath it all was going, there's something not right about these people, I wanted to believe that they were had my best interest at heart. But that wasn't really the case. So I'd done ayahuasca before I went to the jungle a few times since then, actually. So I had actually been doing it with a few other different groups in Europe. So I was by that point that I went to the jungle, I'd already taken ayahuasca probably over 20 times, or maybe even more. So I took it quite a lot. Okay. Because I was really, it was my calling, and it was beautiful. All the experiences I had, they were beautiful. I had some things that I had to deal with and had to face, but nothing quite on the level of what I experienced when I went to the jungle. So it was, the experiences that I was having were pretty dark. Like, and I really felt that energy from the shamans that I was with, and the people that were staying there. Everybody that came while I was there, because I stayed there for a month. Okay. Everybody that came ended up leaving. Right. Because they
prematurely.
Because they were just freaked out.
And you were just sticking with it. I want to learn.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to stay here because I wanted to finish my, what we call a dieta, because that's how the shamans learn. It's through the dietas. And what the dieta is, it's a diet with a certain plant. And these plants that you diet with during your stay there teach you. Yeah. And they all have like, each different plant has its own sort of special gift or ability that it can give to the shamans. Yeah. So that's how they learn their powers, their magical powers, and healing abilities is through dieting with these plants. So that's how I was told. Okay, if you want to learn, this is how you learn. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Well, if this is how I learn, this is how I learn. And I was thinking that I was going to go there and I was going to be taught. Yeah. I was going to be shown. Yeah. You know, like sort of said, okay, yeah, this is how we're doing things. This is that. But it's not like that. You have to learn yourself. Okay. And the way that you learn by yourself is by staying in isolation. So most of the time that I was there, I was in isolation, and I was given these plants. And then
plantas, señor.
and they will heal. Each different plant has its own healing qualities to it, and these plants will heal you. And the plant that I was dieting with the first time that I went to the jungle was Bobinsana. Yeah. And it's a heart opening plant. And it was difficult for me because my mind was trying to rationalize what was happening, and I found it quite difficult to navigate that because my ego was strong at that point, and it wanted to be taught. And every time like I asked these shamans questions, they would always just like tell me that I know the answers. So at that point I was thinking, okay, so what was they were giving me bits of wisdom. Okay, so they were teaching me. But then there was also like this covert underbelly to it. Yeah. So like they were teaching me on one level, you know, which is how a dieter should go, and training, you know, that was all correct. But when during the ceremonies there was like more sinister things going on. Yeah, they were like putting things on me. Okay. But I could feel the beliefs. I could feel like lies and fears going into me. Right. And I was like, I could feel like I was feeling fear that I'd never experienced before. And at that, I could feel it coming from them when they were singing during the ceremony. The Icaros, I could feel it coming from them. And at first, I was defending it. It was like I could block it. Yeah. And did they know you were blocking it? There was almost like a battle going on. So like this is like they were giving us really large doses of ayahuasca as well. During the evening ceremonies, and it's, you know, it's in pitch black. You know, you're in the jungle. This like crazy animal moonlight noises coming through the wood in there. You know, and then I'm sat there on my own with these like two creepy jungle people that were trying to like attack me. Right. And I was thinking at the time, maybe they're just doing this to train me. You know, which in a way it did train me. It was, you know, so but at the same time I was thinking, I don't know how where'd you draw the line here? You know, or, you know, because if I'd have believed the things that they were projecting towards me, then that could have seriously screwed me up. But maybe that was the teaching, man. Yeah, well, definitely it was. Well, there was definitely a teaching in that, because it did screw me up, because on some levels after I'd been there, I was believing. Right. Okay. Well, I think what was causing most of the problem was the fact that I wanted to believe them. Right. And I wanted to believe that they had my best interest. Okay. But there was one ceremony that I had that was extremely terrifying. And like every ceremony I had with them was extremely terrifying. It was like just hell. There was no like bliss or love or light at the end of the ceremonies. There was no like liberating sort of moments. It was all just pure terror. And like I was never, I'd never experienced the depths of that despair.
You can't even explain that terror though, can you? Because when you're in that ayahuasca experience, or I've even had it in DMT, and you think you're there forever. You think that's it, don't you?
Yeah,
you think that's your life, and it's
exactly. So, some of the experiences that I was having out there were just that far out that my mind just. I actually believed that there was no way I was going to be able to recover from what I experienced, because it was just that. That's intense. And there was one experience where it was like I was within 15. Usually it takes about like 45 minutes for the medicine to kick in. Within 15 minutes I'd drunk this cup and I could feel a bit like DMT, the kaleidoscope patterns, and it was like I was thinking, oh my god,
it's almost overwhelming, isn't it?
It was that overwhelming. I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to come out of this alive. It was that intense, and my whole body was like, felt like I'd been possessed, and like my whole body was just like contorting, and like there was like froth coming out my mouth, and I was like sweating, and
I was just imagining that some family member would have to come back and just like collect me in a bag, and I just was this liquid. And then just, right, I'll take him back to England and bury him. It's just a liquid now.
Oh god, it was so like what was going through my mind was like, I'm not going to recover from this, and all I could feel was just like these really, really negative thoughts coming. Like it was like voices saying, you think that you're a light worker, you've come here to, you think that you're gonna learn and do this, you've failed. Failed. That's what it was telling me. It was just like this overwhelming sense of like absolute despair. And then I had this like it was like a realization kind of thing at the time that I'm never going to recover. So I'm never going to recover from this. I'm going to be insane. Because it was that intense. I'd done psychedelic experiences before, but nothing was on this level. And it was going on. I was like I was being tortured, and it felt like I was going to be like these voices were saying, you're going to be, this is never going to stop. This is never going to stop. The jungle's got you. The evil spirits have got you, and like I was like screaming for help. I was like, help, do something, help me. And they weren't doing anything at all. I was just in absolute despair. And it felt like I was going to die. And I was kind of grateful. I was like, bring it on. I was like, I'd rather die than go through through this for eternity. And because it was showing me all these scenarios, like you said, like of my family, being really upset that I'd like gone to the jungle and I've gone and done it, and I've died now, and like they were like, it was almost like I was. It felt like the shamans, they were singing like a funeral song for me. So it was like my death. But what that kind of symbolised now is like this is like what they would call like the shamanic death.
But letting go of the old self. Like,
it was like the death of the old self. But the experience, like after I'd felt like I was, I was wriggling around on the floor for ages. It felt like there was all snakes like inside me, and they were like I was completely just took over. I accepted the death, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like, because it was basically saying, it was like playing out this story. Once your body's finished wriggling around, then you're going to die. And I was like, okay, great. I was like, but then it was like, no. You think that you're just going to die and this is going to stop? It was like, no, you're going to be tortured for eternity. Your soul's been taken now by the darkness, and you're going to be tortured for eternity. And I was like, oh fuck, like how worse, you can't get any worse than that, can you?
No.
It's like,
because it's just in loop, isn't it? Torture on loop
on loop forever for eternity. That's what I felt like was my destiny.
Oh, it's terrifying, isn't it? God, it's fucking terrifying. So, there's nothing on this planet that someone could do to you that could be any worse than that feeling, is there?
Exactly. So that's what I was going through at that time. And then it was like, it felt like I was like leaving the earth, and then as I was leaving the earth, I left my body. The whole of the earth was on fire. So it was like it was like the apocalypse, and it was in that experience that's what was happening.
Yeah,
it was the end of the world. And I was kind of at that point thinking, well, we're all in this together. We're all going to be tortured for eternity. That was like the story that was playing out. And then like I left the earth, and then I was just getting further and further and further away out of from the solar system. And then it showed me that it was like playing out this story that the earth is going to take eons and eons and eons for life to for any kind of life to come back into the cosmos. And I was just like, whoa. And then after that I felt myself moving further and further away from everything, from all the solar system, all the planets, and then everything that ever existed from the beginning of time until the end of time just folded up into one point. And then at that point there was just absolutely nothing at all, and it was just absolute pure abyss. Like stillness, nothing. And then this image of this like old man, like a shaman, came up with a book, and then he closed the book and said the end, like the end of everything. And I was just like, I can't remember anything after that apart from just pure stillness. And this must have been about 8 hours I was going through this experience. And then but
it feels like thousands of years, doesn't it?
It felt like thousands of years. And then I remember just coming round from that experience with the sound of the birds, and like like there's like light coming through. And then I was still like, when I opened my eyes, I was still like really hallucinating quite strongly. But then I realised then that, wow, I'm actually alive, and that was all just an experience. But
that takes a lot to get your head around then, doesn't it?
Just a bit. Like I still, it's still, when I speak about it now, I'm still not full. I haven't fully processed that one experience. It still blows me away.
Well, after I had one like that, which was on DMT, which was probably the worst one I've ever had, even worse than the one I had on ayahuasca, is on DMT. And it actually, because to people who don't know, DMT usually lasts, you go under for about 5 to 8 minutes, don't you? And then it's kind of out of your system after 15. Well, I come back after 8 minutes, and then I'd like a minute of just enjoying the colours of the room and just being like whoomp, and then it took me back in, because this was like when you get past your Timothy Leary talks about, after your 12th experience there's like a deeper resonance with your experience, and it can take you a little bit, but it took me back in for another like 25 minutes.
Wow.
And it was just horrific, like the worst thing. It was like someone just turned me into glass and then just went boom and just shattered me, and I was floating through the abyss, and I was just like, but all my bits are everywhere, so I could like, I was all my bits, but they weren't connected, and I knew they could never get back together. Do you know what I mean? It was like I was fucked. They unplugged me out of the matrix. I was just like, whoa. But then sat in there in the space that I was in, I had to integrate back into my body. Like it was like my soul couldn't take it and just went out there. And then for that coming back in period, and my two friends were sat on either side of me, and I was grabbing hold of them, was like, fuck, like, and it took ages to come back into my body and to feel it. But I remember like for maybe like 2 or 3 months after that, I'd walk through certain doorways and I'd feel this flicker of my body, whereas like it was like there was two of me, and one of me had stayed in the doorway and one had walked through. For like 2 months, man, I just kept thinking I died, or like I was in these situations where I died again. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, took a long time to integrate.
It can. I'm still not integrated that, and that was like nearly 5 years ago. So Jesus.
So what happened after that then?
Well, that was like the.
Did you month? Yeah.
No, that wasn't. That was like the third ceremony in. So I'd only been there a week. That had happened.
Yeah.
So at that point I was absolutely terrified. I was like, oh my God, I can't possibly ever put myself through that again. I just need to recover. And then that other part of me was still there. I was like, no, you've come this far. You've come this far, you're going to stay and you're going to do it. And I thought, I'm going to stay, I'm going to do it. But I was terrified. But I remember that evening, the following night, because I never got to sleep, I couldn't sleep. I was too like shaken up by it all, and I was gonna it comes to that evening, and then I decided I'm going to leave. I thought, I can't stay here anymore. And I was on this island, you see, in the middle of the jungle. And then I tried to find the people that lived on the island who had the boat. And there was no one there. So I don't know where they were that night, but I was stuck. I was on the island on my own, because the shamans that came, they'd come for the ceremonies and then they'd go. So I was stuck on this island on my own, and I'd had all, this really terrifying experience. And I just thought, I'm not meant to leave. I'm meant to stay. So I did. So I ended up staying, and I stayed there for the rest of the time. And I did say on the next. So when it was due for the next ceremony, I said, "Is it okay if I sit out of this, or maybe just sit in the ceremony and not drink the medicine?" They said, "Yeah." They said, "Okay, you can do that," because I still felt like I was feeling it. I still felt like I was in it. I was still feeling the effects of it, and I ended up having some anyway. Medicine during that ceremony. Like I said, I wasn't going to do it, but I ended up having some anyway.
But just putting it to your lips after that experience is terrifying in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, but I knew that I needed to confront this.
Yeah, it's like crashing a bike, and like you've got to get back on the bike, haven't you?
Exactly. Yeah. So the experiences after that weren't as bad. Yeah. And in fact, they started to get a little bit better. And there was actually towards the end of the dieta that I was there was some really interesting experiences, and I'd actually built up quite a good relationship with the plant that I was dieting with, Bob Insana, and I could feel the spirit, the energy of that spirit. Yeah. So I found that after that huge experience, I found that I was more open. Yeah. It kind of blasted the doors of perception wide open. So I was able to connect with the spirit of that plant that I'd been dieting with more. Yeah. And
that was connecting with your heart.
Yeah, it was connecting with my heart, and it was teaching me things as well. And the thing is with the plant diets as well is that it's like you're constantly under the influence of something, some kind of psychoactive.
Yeah, it's doing its work.
It's doing something, and it's quite tangible. You can feel what it's doing, but it's not like where it's like an ayahuasca ceremony where you're having crazy visions and stuff. It's more where you can feel the subtle effects of it working on the emotional body, and in your dreams as well. And it's interesting because the plants they test you in your dreams. Yeah. To see if you're willing to stick to the diet. So like sometimes they'll pop up and they'll offer you something like cake or something like that, that you're not allowed to have on the diet, just to, because it's like when you're doing a diet with a plant, you've got to be able to develop a relationship with it. And like a trust, and then once you've completed that diet with that plant, then it stays with you. And what it'll do is it'll teach you Icarus songs, and that you can then sing in a ceremony. You can invoke the spirit of that medicine. Yeah,
and you've got some beautiful Icaros, man. Like you do them in the ceremonies, don't you? It's really nice.
Yeah. So I received some Icaros as well from this plant, and then. In fact, so some of the experiences that I had after that huge one were quite amazing. I was very connected to the spirit of the Kambo frog as well.
After, when you were getting towards the end of your month, were you still thinking these people are dark, like these shamans are?
Yeah, well, there was a couple of people who I know that came. Yeah. So this is what kind of made it a little bit easier for me after the following weeks, because there's a couple of people who I knew that came along just to do a couple of ceremonies, and they there was this couple that came, and they said that they felt like that they weren't right, the shamans as well, and they left. Okay. And I decided to stay. Because I was curious, I wanted to suss them out. I wanted to know whether it was them that was doing it or whether it was meant to happen. Yeah. So I stayed anyway, and that was what I learned is that I was able to defend myself from these dark experiences. That I realised that the dark experiences that I was having were actually coming from them, because the fear that was sort of like that they were projecting onto me, I was able to defend that and stand in my power around that, and sometimes there was like an energetic battle going on. But so I stayed there for the rest of the month, because I thought, no, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to do it, because if I go home I'll just be feeling defeated.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not what I went there to do. I didn't go there to be defeated. I went there to conquer my demons, you know, and you know, learn. Yeah. But it was when I got home, that's when things got difficult.
What, integrating, or just difficult in your own mind?
Yeah, difficult in my mind. You know, bad things were happening. You know, there was a lot of darkness around me. There was moments where I couldn't even leave the house. I was like terrified, and I was convinced, I wasn't convinced, but there was thoughts in my head that the world was going to end. Yeah. So I ended up going through what you'd call like a psycho-spiritual crisis. Yeah. That was when I got home. It was like my whole world was just falling apart.
Right, okay.
Yeah, there was no I was struggling to get to grips on reality. It was that intense, and I was just like, I wasn't really able to function properly. I was at night time, I was like seeing and hearing spirits and voices, and it was like, you know, if I went to a doctor, then they'd probably section me off.
But don't they say in the jungle, when these kind of characteristics are being shown by someone who lives in the tribe, that they have got the abilities and talents to become the next shaman? Yeah.
Well, I wasn't aware of that at the time. But then obviously, because of what I was going through, I was drawn to research, you know, into like, you know, what this kind of thing is. And then, you know, I came quite a lot across a few books around Dark Night of the Soul and the path, you know, and like journey to becoming a healer. And it talks a lot about this, you know, and in the past how people have had, you know, healers have had to go through initiations. Like the typical shamanic initiation is a psycho-spiritual crisis, like a mental illness or some kind of physical illness. And I got all of it. So I had this mental illness that I was like, you know, I've been terrorized by, you know, dark spirits or thoughts or whatever, you know, however you want to call it. That's something that I'd never experienced before. So it's not like it was, you know, a familiar thing that had been like triggered. It was completely, you know, new, and I believe that it was from this big experience that I had that like triggered it.
And what was because were you talking about that? I've not had anything like that, but a good friend of mine who's now a psychic, Catherine Henshaw, do you know Catherine?
Yes.
So she went through something very, very similar, and I was like with her at the time, like we've always been really good mates, and just observe, I thought she'd lost the plot, man. Do you know what I mean? So was you discussing it with people, and was everyone thinking that you'd gone nuts? I but then I knew, I had like this inner knowing that I shouldn't be discussing this with people, because you know, I had this inner knowing that I know that I'm a long way away from being normal again, you know, or being able to like function normally. However, there was a knowing inside that I will. There was a strength inside that was like, no, I'm going to get through this. So it was that kept me sane. And then what I realised was during this time that I was going through this crisis was that there was what the voices and the things that I was seeing and hearing, there was different energies, and there was different like feelings, and there was different textures and smells that I'd never experienced before. And it was obviously because I was in that all the time, I was able to then like, you know, get to know it on a personal level. And then what I realized was that a lot of the energies and the voices and the fears and the emotions and that I was feeling, because I was feeling all different types of emotions, intense fear, intense you know, grief and despair and like all these different feelings and emotions, is that there was some of it was actually fragmented parts of myself. And that over the time of my recovery from this, that bits of it was coming back. What I realised is that all of these things that I'm experiencing now is teaching me the nature of the soul, the spirit, and that how I was so fragmented
And it was just revealing this to me, that I could actually bring these pieces back and integrate them into myself. So it was like I was broken apart and shattered into a million pieces. But then my initiation was learning how to bring back each part of that into my being to become whole.
Yeah.
Again, and that's kind of like what my journey's been through that until where I'm at now.
Yeah, amazingly traumatic, but beautiful at the end.
Exactly, exactly. So at the time, I was, in this despair, thinking that the world was going to end, and and struggling to function, to learning how to work with these energies that I was experiencing, and how I could integrate that. But one thing that I did discover during this was that some of the energies that I was experiencing weren't mine. Yeah. And that was quite difficult to be able to know, like, what's yours and what's not. Yeah. Because a lot of it was projections from other people. And it was through that I it's just by chance, actually. I was speaking to a psychotherapist called Charmaine Berry, someone who's she's based in Manchester, and she works with a therapy called IFS, internal family systems, which is really interesting. So I'd advise anyone that's interested in this kind of thing to look into that. IFS, internal family systems. It's a psychotherapy model that's very similar to the shamanic soul retrieval concept around how we can integrate fragmented parts of the self. And I was speaking to Charmaine Berry about my experiences that I was having with these fragmented soul parts, and how I was able to bring some of these pieces back. And Charmaine was telling me about this therapy that she does called IFS, and it's very similar. And then I started to research into IFS then, and it was very helpful to know how you can actually deal with these different parts. So there was some parts that are like traumatized from childhood. There's like abandonment, and like, because when a part of us is experiencing a certain kind of trauma, when we're at a young age, what happens is it disconnects. It becomes fragmented from our conscious awareness.
But we still store it in the body.
We store it in the body somewhere, and that it's possible to bring these back. But what had happened with me is all of these different parts that had been buried had been blasted, fragmented, blasted open.
So did you have to, like, all the bits you're putting back in yourself, do you have to then put the bits that aren't yours back in and then get rid of them, or do you just don't choose that one?
Yeah, well, it's the thing is, the only reason that you'll ever experience anybody else's energy is if you identify with it. Right. So this is something that I learned, it's actually a choice on some level. It's not a conscious choice, but it's the choice that we've decided to identify with somebody else's belief systems or somebody else's traumas. So it's like a lot of the time that transference comes from parents. So it's the parents' traumas that we then take on, and their patterns, their behavioural patterns that we take on. That's why we have other people's traumas most of the time from parents, but it can be just conditioning, social conditioning. Like other people's belief systems that aren't necessarily healthy. Then we can take that on, and then that becomes an energy that's in our being that can cause problems. So throughout this whole journey, I was learning the nature of illnesses. And I'd read about it, how like I'd read on some articles how the shamans believed that all illnesses stem from some kind of soul loss or some kind of energetic imbalances. And at first I was quite skeptical of that, because I know that how can you explain smoking or eating unhealthy? We know that it's these are the reasons what cause disease. But then what I've come to understand is, well, actually, what's the driving force behind us wanting to have these unhealthy habits? So actually it is from an imbalance within the self that's causing us to want to eat unhealthily, or to have these addictions that are causing health problems.
So the things that we think are directly the cause of it, there's something actually behind that.
There's behind that as well. There's like it's like the disease is actually wanting that to feed itself.
Yeah.
But the disease is actually already there.
Yeah.
For us to want to do that.
Yeah. That's what it's Doctor. Do you know Dr. Bradley Nelson? He's got the emotional code of the body.
Ah, right. Yeah.
He talks about that a lot in his work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And reprogramming. Parts of the body and repairing stuff just by thought.
Yeah. So I was learning a lot about that during my own. So
So how long did that last for? That like crisis before you got like, right, okay, now I'm gonna. Was it when that finished? Did you go, right, and now I'm gonna go to the jungle? I'm gonna become an ayahuasca practitioner, a Kambo practitioner.
Well, I'd say for about 6 months I was in the place where I was really unstable.
Yeah.
But during that time I was actually arranging to go back.
To the same people?
Yeah, I wanted to go back and see, because I was finding difficult in coming to terms with was are these people good or are they bad? Was I meant to go through this?
Yeah.
Or were they just bad people?
Yeah.
So I needed to go back to find out. I had to. There was no other way that I would have been able to get over that unless I went back and found out.
Yeah.
So I did. So I arranged to go back and find out. And actually, when I got back to the centre the next year, the guy that was the man, the older shaman, he left.
Right.
And he he didn't come back to the centre, and the woman, she stayed. And actually, it was then that I knew that they were bad, because she was trying to manipulate me. Mm-hmm. She was trying to put things out, because I could feel energy, because I was so used to, getting to know my energy, and getting to know what was mine and what wasn't. I was able to know that I could feel the projections from her, like manipulation, trying to like trick me into thinking that because I asked her about the what happened the year before, what was all that about, why was I feeling this way, and I could feel her weaving her stuff into me, trying to tell me that that it was because of me and because of the things that I was doing, or I broke the diet and things like that. She was trying to tell me and things like that. But I could feel the energy from her that she was trying to manipulate me, and I defended myself from that. And she was getting really sick while I was there.
Okay.
She was like really sick, and she was like coughing and like becoming unwell. And I realised that was for her. It's like she was projecting towards me during the ceremonies, and because I was aware of it, I was defending myself about it. It was like it was going straight back to her, instant karma. And then it was like I think it was like a month after I'd left the second time that I was there, she actually died.
Oh right, you killed her.
Oh, she killed herself.
It's all right. It's legal in that country.
But so while I was there, while I was there, it was that I went back the second time to come to terms with it, and that was then when I knew.
Just give it a conclusion.
I knew that these weren't good people. But at the same time, now I'm still super grateful for having that experience with them, because I learned so much from it. Because if I hadn't have been through that, how would I understand and know about manipulation and what they call it, it's like black magic, because and I understood on a deep level how black magic works, and the way that it works is, and it's actually used in our society by a lot of people. We don't even realize it. People, it's like putting seeds of doubt and fear, illusion. It's basically
marketing and PR and stuff, isn't it?
It is, because you're just basically throwing a seed of lies or illusion into somebody, and then when they believe that to be true on some level, it grows into something that can cause problems. But they know what they're doing with it.
Of course they do.
The reason why, power, I don't know. Money.
Dark forces.
So I
like the cigarette, the cigarette thing, man. Like, this is great for you. Oh no, we always knew it wasn't great for you. We lied. Sorry.
So I learned a lot about that when I was there.
And that's for healers as well. Kind of the best healers are the people who've been through the shit.
So it hasn't been an easy ride whatsoever. This whole
and it shouldn't be, really, should it? Though, do you think it should be?
No. How can it be? Because how can somebody facilitate an experience for somebody, you know, and like an ayahuasca experience for somebody, if they haven't been through whatever that the clients or the people that are attending seminar could possibly go through. You know, you have to have been through the shit to be able to hold the shit for somebody else.
Yeah, totally.
You've got to be able to. There's no way that you can hold that. Imagine like if somebody else went through a similar experience to what I did, and I'd never been through that before. I'd be like, shit.
Exactly, you won't be able to deal with it. And even coming from where you've come from, going from the drug dealer to the healer, like if you'd just been born into like candy floss, beautiful, loving family with everything provided for you, and then you'd gone on a little spiritual quest to India. I've got my dreadlocks, I've got a little bit of tie-dye, I'm gonna go and do some healing on some people now, and they come to you with this trauma. What the hell have you been through? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's so true.
That's the blessings that we've got, that we have to be grateful for our circumstances in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, you know, it thickens the skin a bit. Yeah. And that's what we need, because we're dealing with real life things. You know, as a healer, you know, we're dealing with people that have been through real trauma, you know, in their lives, and they need to have someone there that's strong enough to be able to hold that for them, so they can go, you know, hold space for them to go through their healing process and feel safe. Ultimately, it's to, you know, the fundamentals of being a healer is that you can hold space for someone, and that means that you're going to make people feel safe to go through whatever process it is that they need to go through. You know, and if you haven't been there yourself, you can't really or if you haven't been through something that's you know, similar, then there's no way that you can hold that for them.
It's kind of like me teaching pregnancy yoga, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how can I teach pregnancy yoga?
And do you know what, it was my initiation, all of that. And well, that's probably, you know, the whole life is initiation after initiation, but I had to go through the things that I went through to be able to do what I'm doing now. You know, it's do you know what the thing is with initiation is, it's something that's very there's something that's missing from our culture. I think that, you know, a lot of tribes have initiations where
spirit quests and stuff. Like when you get when you coming of age kind of thing.
Like it's rites of passage. You know, you have to go through like these traumatic things. You know, it's some of it's, you know, inflicted on them. You know, traumatic experiences are inflicted on these. You know, people. You know, children coming into adulthood, and I really do get that, because it's having a trauma and then healing from it that makes you stronger. You know, and you know, in some cultures that's actually welcomed, and then they're able to integrate that in a positive way. Whereas in our culture, we are, you know, if we experience trauma, a lot of the time it's just pushed away, you know, or it's masked with something, you know, drugs or alcohol or something like that. So
what's like, in your culture? Where was that? I was reading that there's a culture where if you're getting married, if you want to get married, they have a big ceremony, and then they send you off into the woods for a month as a couple, like with nothing, like with nothing, no clothes, nothing. They just send you off, and if you come back a month later together, like, you can get married.
That's good.
And if you don't, like, you don't.
It is something that's missing actually out of our culture, initiation. Totally. But definitely on the path of a healer, you have to have been through something. So where you at now with it all? What's where's ayahuasca led you? What would you class yourself as? Like a shaman or a doctor or a healer? What would be your classification of yourself? I don't really like the word shaman. The word shaman comes from Siberia.
Okay.
It's not even, shaman isn't even a word that's used in South America. And you know, and there's so many different types of healers that all have, you know, different gifts and abilities. A healer?
I
don't know.
Just a healer.
I really don't identify with any kind of label.
Someone who facilitates positive change in people.
And you know, there has, you know, since going through this crisis, now I have developed some abilities, you know, where, like some you might say clairsentient abilities, where I'm able to feel and diagnose where issues are in the body. I can feel the energies there, and I can feel and I can do a type of healing, shamanic healing called soul retrieval, where I'm able to locate parts of other people's emotions and help them to bring that back. So there's
we could probably do a show on that, couldn't we?
We could do a whole thing on that, and some psychic abilities as well. And I also do tarot card readings, and I found that
they resonate with
people are resonating with it, and you know, so there's and so, like some healers, some like shamans are really good at helping with physical symptoms in the body. Some of them are really good at focusing with, you know, things within issues within the mind. So I don't really like to categorize myself into one thing.
Cool.
Or identify
doing lots of different things. What comes at the time, and where the energy's going, and what feels right.
That's it.
Awesome, man.
But, so like I do work with ayahuasca now. And during the ceremonies, you know, I like to really use music, and sometimes people will come and offer sound healing, and so I like to incorporate a few different things. So I don't stick with any kind of tradition. I don't like the way that I worked with when I was in the jungle was in the pitch black, where it's just Icaro sung, no instruments, whereas in my ceremonies I like to have instruments and singers, and you know, and just bringing in whatever it is that I feel that's right at the time.
All the different ways that I've done it with are just beautiful in their own way, you know what I mean? And I think in the jungle that kind of just the Icarus is fitting, do you know what I mean?
It is,
but when you're doing it over here, like the musicians, it can just take you to another, it's like you just go into a different dimension, another plane of consciousness in it through the music.
That's
which is beautiful. So what about you with your music then? What's happening? So you've been DJing?
So like when I was growing up, DJing was my thing that I wanted to do. I was really interested in electronic music, and that was something that I was quite passionate about. And I did DJ for a little while in like clubs and raves in my younger years. But when I got onto this healing journey, I stopped. Because my focus was on fixing myself and also learning how to work with these other medicines. And so it kind of took a bit of a back burner, but the last couple of years I've been back in the studio again, like producing electronic music. So the type of music that I'm working with at the moment is techno music. So I've actually at the moment I've been working with a mentor who's worked with many different big artists in the techno music scene, and you know, he's supporting me at the moment to get to where I need to be. And I've actually got 6 tracks being mixed and mastered at the moment.
Cool.
And so I've got my own.
And what are they going to come out on?
Well, there's not any label release just yet, but I'm actually developing my bio and my social media profiles at the moment. You can maybe check them out in the
well, if you just check Lewis Powell out on Facebook, I'm sure they'll be getting updated on there as and when. And are these like the ayahuasca and the music? Is it two separate things, or do you plan on, are they two separate things at the moment, and are you merging them, or are they merged as we at now?
No, well, the thing is, when I did a retreat, and when I'd taken ayahuasca myself one evening, the ayahuasca showed me clearly that I was going to be doing DJing in front of big crowds. And that's kind of what spurred me on. It was like a clear vision. It was a clear vision. This is what you're going to be doing. And that kind of spurred me on, you know, to thinking that this is something that I want to do. And it was going to show me that by DJing and being in front of these crowds, that you'll be able to spread this awareness, this like conscious awareness. How that's going to take form, I don't know, because at the moment I'm just producing techno music, which is just
kind of see the end point of the vision.
There's a vision there. There's a vision there of where I want to get to with it, and that's kind of like the driving force behind it all. But at the same time, it's a hobby. So at the moment, it's completely separate because it's what I like to do in my personal time. So when I've got any kind of free time, I like to go in the studio and I like to make music. And So yeah, it's completely different at the moment. There's no merge there between it. But at one point
you can see it coming together.
I can see it coming together. Yeah.
You're gonna go start helping all the DJs who are like a bit messed up on drugs and that lifestyle, and like we can do this in a cleaner way.
Well, actually, the mentor that I've been working with, he is actually involved in an association, part of the electronic music scene, that is responsible for taking care of the mental health of DJs.
Right, okay.
Like international DJs in the scene. So there could be something in the future that maybe we may be collaborating on.
It's exciting, man. Sounds really cool.
It is exciting. I'm really looking forward to it, because it's something that I enjoy doing, because the past few years, in fact the past 10 years plus, have been challenging, and like, it hasn't been an easy ride whatsoever. It's been really, really challenging, and I've had a lot of trials and a lot of things that I've had to overcome. So I haven't really had any kind of like rest or enjoyment during this time. There hasn't been like moments where I've I've really enjoyed this, because it hasn't been. It's been terrifying. And some of the things that I've been experiencing dealing with clients as well, and it's been really quite intense and quite rough. Some of the dealing with other people's problems, dealing with my own problems. It's almost like I haven't had any time for myself. And now I feel like where I'm at now is that I'm coming through all that. I feel like I'm coming into a new phase now where I can start to look after myself.
And
I feel like I'm really embracing the self-love at the moment, and I'm starting to actually like myself. Whereas I found that most of my life that I haven't, I didn't really like myself. So I'm on this like self-love journey at the moment.
Amazing. You have to listen to the Gina Swire episode of the podcast. I think she's got number 3 or something. She's all about the self-love, and she's like just blasting that message out all over the world.
But it's interesting because I've been reading some books from Don Miguel Ruiz. And I don't know if you've heard of the 4 Agreements.
Yes, the 4 Agreements. And words impeccable. Don't make assumptions. Don't take things personally. Always do your best. Boom. Yes. And he's next level. Yeah,
he is. and like the levels of mastery. Like there's the mastery of the self, which is becoming self-aware. So this is like the steps that I felt like I was going through on my journey, was that when I went through this crisis, I was like having to master myself, to know who I was and who I wasn't. And then once I got past the mastery of the self, then it's the mastery of transformation. And I did actually go through a huge physical transformation. There's like you might have heard of like a Kundalini awakening, where like I had like energy running up my spine, and there was like bone, like I literally feel like bones cracking and changing in my body. I went for a full like it felt like my whole nervous system was being rewired. And like in the books of the Don Miguel Ruiz, it says that the next step is the master of transformation. And that's being able to navigate that and be able to get through it. And then the third step is the mastery of love. And I feel like that's something that I'm stepping into now, is like just really beginning to feel and understand what love is. So that's where I'm at the moment.
And get a grip of it in relationships with your relationship with yourself, your relationship with other people, everything. And that's the interesting thing, like, because you wouldn't come and say that you're like a yoga teacher, would you? Do you know what I mean? But all them steps that you're talking about, that's what in yoga, it's yoga. That's the path of yoga to reach enlightenment. But through these steps, through these programs, through these cleansings, through these changing of behaviors, through these disciplines. You know what I mean? People forget it takes a lot of discipline to do what you're doing. It's a lot of grit, a lot of determination. Do you know what I mean? It's easy to just like rot away and do drugs and end up in prison. You know what I mean? To step away from all that and like step into the light is a massive step. That's traumatizing in itself.
It is traumatizing because it's peeling away all the layers of illusions, distortions that the majority of people are stuck in and they'll never get out of. It's so much easier to take that path of ignorance than it is to take the path of truth.
Because with the path of truth comes ridicule from people not taking the path of truth.
Exactly.
Total ridicule. No, people don't want you changing. They want you as you are.
Exactly.
Like the person that they think they know.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of ridicule to overcome in stepping into who you really want to be.
There was so much resistance from people that I knew when I first started out on this journey. When I first started out, it was like, he's weird.
Yeah, he's lost the plot.
He's lost the plot. And someone said to me once, he goes, I've heard you live in a monastery now, don't you? I was like, no. But the thing is that I'm so grateful for about my journey is that I'm still me. And I have seen people who've been on this journey that have kind of lost themselves. It's easy to do.
I think I did for a little while. I thought I can't be funny anymore. I've got to take things, if I'm spiritual, I've got to take things seriously.
It's so much bullshit.
I can't have a laugh. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it was a guy, I was meditating, he's like, you can meditate smiling, you don't have to be so serious. I was like, oh, can I? oh, really? Shit, I didn't know that.
It's bullshit, isn't it? And I have seen people that have lost themselves in it, and I kind of did myself. I think when I first started working with ayahuasca and I was doing ceremonies, I felt like I was kind of like obliged to be like this, like wearing white, vegan, doing yoga religiously and like taking things seriously and being super polite and super like feminine. And
oh my God, how are you? Your eyes are glowing at the moment. Look at your aura. Oh my God.
I know. And do you know what the thing is though? It's one it's extremity, isn't it? I think balance. This is something
I think you find the balance. You go there and you come back down and you reconnect with the bits of your old self that you like. And that aren't like offensive or abusive or toxic, and you integrate it back into your true self, because your true self was always there. Growing up, it wasn't like it's just arrived. It just got this shit put on top of it and all these different kind of social conditioning, parenting, whatever, and then you've just kind of had to like break out of that again, and then your essence reintegrates with the better parts of you.
Exactly. And what I found with the like the spiritual community thing, I said like the spiritual community because there's a lot of dogma in it as well, and some of it is really good. I really like the positivity and the love and light movement, but some of it is unrealistic.
Because underneath there is still a lot of shit and darkness that we've got to deal with.
And at the end of the day, we do live in like the normal world.
Where there's a lot of dark stuff going on.
There's a lot of dark stuff going on. And the thing is as well is that I'm grateful for my past and and what I had gone through, because it still makes me real. I still feel like I'm connected with that, and I feel like I'm connected with that more lately. I feel like because I went through this journey of going on this like profound spiritual journey, but then like the balance, bringing myself back into balance was finding that old part of me that I'd pushed away, because I did do that. I pushed away that old side of me as if I was ashamed of it, and I didn't want that to be a part of who I was, but actually that part of me was a big part of who I am. So,
and that's the beauty about being able to talk about it. It's like, it's not embarrassing, because you wouldn't be here now doing what you're doing without doing what you did.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people in our community who don't talk about the past. And it's true. Really important. It's like, don't be ashamed of it. Like, it doesn't matter what you did, it's what you are now, what you're selling now, not what you're selling, but I mean what you're communicating, what your message is, what is in your heart now, what you're actually trying to do. Cool. So Kambo's the main thing. How, if someone was interested in doing Kambo and they were 50-50 whether they wanted to do it, what would you do? Obviously not going to force them to do it, but kind of how would you ease their mind a little bit?
Well, the thing is, I've been working with Kambo for almost 5 years now, and I'm treating people on a daily basis, and it can be quite a challenging experience, but it only lasts for around 20 to 45 minutes. The majority of people that take Kambo come back. Okay.
The majority.
The majority of people who've taken Kambo will take it again at some point.
Oh, come back. I thought you meant come back from losing the mind, mate. I was like, you're not doing a good job at selling this, mate.
Okay, so Kambo, there's
come back for another session.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, Kambo can really get to the places that other medicines can't. Like, and I've never experienced anything that's as effective as at treating fertility problems. Right.
Okay. Really?
As Kambo. Like, one of my assistants got pregnant, in her 40s, and she's had IVF all through her 30s, and she must have a perfectly healthy baby. And there's been quite a lot of cases actually of people who I know who received Kambo from me that have been able to have children. And it's just the impact that Kambo has on people's lives. Like, and just for our for our part of the world, it's like the. From what I've experienced, the changes that can happen in people in such a short amount of time, there's nothing that compares to it. It's just like a beautiful thing to see how somebody can come in for a treatment who's feeling anxious or depressed, and then the following week saying that they're completely free from it. People have been taking antidepressant medication for years, and then they're doing Kambo treatments, and they're off the medications. Because that's something that I also do as a help. I know how to do protocols and programs to help people through antidepressant withdrawals. If anybody's suffering with any kind of like negative thoughts, negative emotions, and they're struggling to get out of like a hole, because the way that I find with Kambo is that if people are stuck in a rut, when I say a rut, it's like stuck in the same patterns, they're not able to break free from it, and it's like a downward spiral, that's just people find it hard to get out of. Kambo really helps to bring people out of these holes and then give them clarity. I think it's the clarity that you get from Kambo that actually helps with this, because
it's kind of clearing the fog.
It clears the fog, because a lot of the fog is just chatter and noise and energies from external things that we've taken on. And Kambo just helps to clear that and give us like more space in the mind. And then usually what happens as well with Kambo is, because they've got that space in their mind, is that good things start to happen rather than
solutions start to present themselves, because there's space for them to do so. Amazing. Well, like, the work you're doing, man, is incredible, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And I just find it so interesting, man. Like, just so much stuff that you've done was similar to what I've been through and resonated. So anybody who is wanting to like do a bit of research on Kambo or get in touch with Lewis, you can get in touch with him on Facebook. He's got his Facebook page. What's the Facebook page?
Kambo Clarity.
Kambo Clarity. So hit him up on there if you want to discuss and maybe have the options of him coming around doing a ceremony with you, or finding out when he's running ceremonies. That would be awesome. Anything else? So I mean, if people wanted to have a private treatment, they could get in touch with me, or if they wanted to arrange a small group with them and their friends, and they could always do that. Or and also as well, I'm now teaching new practitioners, because I really want to be able to share this medicine, and if the effect on people that I've witnessed through my clients, and the effect that it's had on their lives and the people that are connected to them, if I could train another practitioner to do that, and the impact that would have on their clients' lives and people that are connected to them, starting this web,
it's like a ripple effect. And I really believe that this medicine is something that's desperate to reach out to people. So I am doing practitioner training courses. I do have a practitioner training course starting at the end of February.
So if anyone's interested in that, again, hit you up on Facebook.
In that, hit me up. It's a 3-month course. It's a life-changing. Even for not everybody passes the courses. Because some people just aren't ready. But it's going to be either way. If you feel drawn, if you feel it's all called or drawn to do it, it's going to be a life-changing experience.
Epic, man. Thank you so much. So if you feel like calling, hit him up, Lewis Powell. Thank you very much for being on the Dealer to Healer show, our first other Dealer to Healer that we've had on the program, on the podcast. So great. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon in the future, man.
Yeah, I'm sure we've got plenty more to talk about.
Yes, all right. Lots of love. Right. Peace, brother. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was intense. Very, very intense conversation. Yeah, it kind of like me and my cameraman Chris were like, we went for a chocolate afterwards, and we were just both like completely ruined. Like, I don't know what Lewis did to us, man, but yeah, it was just such an intense conversation. I think when you talk about ayahuasca and you talk about these really like cosmic spirit worlds of plant medicines and stuff, they come into the space, you're kind of inviting them in, and it was a heavy duty conversation, beautiful conversation, like, and it made me laugh in parts, just like the, how out there it is, that stuff that Lewis has done, how out there it is some of the stuff that I've done, and people just can't fathom and believe where you've been. Like, you've been in the middle of the Amazon jungle taking a plant medicine, which is the most psychedelic thing in the world, like with some person that language we don't know, and we completely handed our trust over to them. And we've gone to other dimensions, we've seen aliens, we've seen other dimensional beings and communicated with them, and people are like, yeah, that sounds like bullshit. Okay, man, you go and drink it, come back and tell me that. If you don't believe in God, you don't believe in spirit, go and have a drink of ayahuasca, then come back and tell me that. Like, go and try the shit. Don't just sit there in front of your TV telling people what is and what isn't real, just go and experience it, man. Like, poof. And then, I'm quite happy if you say it's bullshit. You say whatever. I'm quite happy to have that conversation, but not before you've experienced it and tried it. So yes, I'm not saying everyone should go and drink ayahuasca, it's not for everyone, but go and like explore your mind, explore the world, explore other and different ways of doing things. That's what I like to empower people to do, just get out of your comfort zone a little bit. So yes, thank you very much, Lewis Powell. Go and check his Facebook page out. Go and learn a little bit about Kambo. It's magical, it's out there. It's kind of insane that this frog has got this poison that takes us on this psychedelic cleanse. Like, how incredible is that? How did we even realize that? Did someone just fall on one day and had a cut and then started tripping the balls off? I'd love to know how it started. I'd love to know how all these things started. You know what I mean? Yes, my book is still available. Well, it's always going to be available now. It's like forever. It's always going to be there. If you haven't read it, it's just my story about where I've come from, where I am now, from dealer to healer. It kind of says it all in the title. A modern tale of a fucked up male. And Lewis's story is very, very similar. And I think he should write a book as well. Lewis, write a book, bro. All right. I'll help you if you need help, but you're an intelligent guy. You can probably do it yourself. I'll just guide you a little bit. But yeah, I've even had people asking me how to self-publish and stuff, and I've just learned it in the last 4 months, and it's an incredible amount of information, but just very humbling that people are coming to me and asking me about the process. So thank you. And if any of you have got any questions about self-publishing, places that you need guiding towards, or anything you kind of feel that I might be able to empower you with, leave me some comments. Let's start some conversations. Let's start some threads. I'd love to help as many people as possible. The book is going to sell a minimum of 1 million copies. I'm going to help a minimum of 1 million people to see things differently, to step up their game, to become a better, more beautiful version of themselves. That's what the podcast is all about. Go and check all my stuff out at liambrown.com. Sending you lots and lots and lots of love. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, week, month, the rest of the year. And tune in for the next show. It's going to be equally as cosmic. Yes. Take it easy. Peace and love. Dealer to healer. Booyah. You to bless my soul. Thank you so much for listening to the Deal as a Healer podcast. Please stay tuned for more episodes of transformation, of metamorphosis, of people becoming the most beautiful version of themselves, and teaching you, the listeners, how to become the most beautiful version of yourself. So if you want all that information, all that knowledge, all these amazing guests that I've got on my show, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button somewhere on this screen, so please just link onto that. You'll get a notification straight away of any new episodes, and I promise you I've got epic epic guests coming up, so please stay tuned. If you want to know anything else about the Dealer to Healer movement, of what I've got going on, about my links to the book, links to my website, links to my music, everything, please go in the description below. It's just down there somewhere. You just hit description and everything, it'll tell you everything. So nice one, have a beautiful day, take it easy, and remember, please subscribe, that would be amazing. Peace.